Hi guys, Matt V's Movies back for another video, and today's video is physical media a con? You're probably thinking, what is it a con? What are you talking about? Well, I'm talking about the difference between 4K and Blu-ray pricing. Essentially new release stuff. So let's look at this subject today on the channel. So welcome back. And if you're new here, my name's Matt and this channel is all about movies. We look at 4K, Blu-ray, DVD and sometimes VHS. We look at these editions. I talk about the film industry, about Blu-ray collecting, a little bit of tech about the players, the TVs, the projectors, the amplifiers that we use. We've got a lot of different playlists. So if that's something you're interested in, please consider subscribing and comment on the video. So today's video is centered around pricing of new release 4Ks and Blu-rays. Now typically, depending on the type of collector you are, you'll either collect the standard editions like this, standard Amaray edition of 4K, just in a standard case. Maybe it'll have a slip cover on it, maybe it won't. So that will typically come out at release, generally around $24.99 in the UK. Obviously pricing may be more in other territories. US, you need to do your conversion. Then we move on to Blu-ray. So the standard Blu-ray edition that you'd get. Again, this is just an example, just something I pulled off the shelf. At the time of release of this would have been typically around $14.99 or £15. Maybe some slight price differences, but generally Blu-rays tend to be around the £15 mark for a new release. Then we'll move on to DVDs, and a typical new release DVD would put you back about £9.99. Let's round it up to £10. Steelbooks. Generally now you only get 4K steelbooks, but we did get Blu-ray steelbooks at one point, and they usually retailed anywhere between £25 to £30. Now with 4K, like this example, you're talking $34.99 or £35. And again, depending on the release, sometimes these are slightly higher or slightly lower. You've also got your collector's editions as well. 4K collector's edition. So this would typically retail from anywhere between $39.99 right the way up to sort of £50 now. And certainly with these collector's editions, year on year, we're starting to see price increases coming through. One example of this was the Ben-Hur set, which is due for release this year. Very, very expensive for essentially, yeah, a standard collector's edition in my mind. Some of the international collector's editions are far more premium, and I can understand maybe a slight rise in price with those. Although I think at release, they're probably around the sort of £40 to £50 mark as well. So in comparison, probably a similar amount. Now, as we know, DVD generally is, picture quality is not as good as Blu-ray for sure. It's not high definition, it's standard edition. It looked good on a small screen, but when you're watching this on a large screen, anywhere from sort of 40-inch plus, the picture is going to be not as good. Even though these will upscale well on the likes of, say, the Panasonic UB820, DVDs will look really good. Modern movies for DVDs, because of them being shot digitally, they do still look very good. So if you're on a budget, £9.99, £10 is not a bad price point. You're still getting your 5.1 surround sound on this. Okay, you won't get the premium formats, Dolby Atmos, DTS:X, but if you're just interested in watching the film at a reasonable price, picture quality is not your main priority, then probably £9.99 is a good price point for media on DVD. Then we step into the world of Blu-ray. So quite a big leap in technology between Blu-ray and DVD. Obviously you're getting high definition 1080p picture quality on this. It looks fantastic. Generally, some releases maybe not as good as others, but on the whole, Blu-ray looks great. It's also got scratch resistance on the discs, whereas with DVD they're quite easily scratched. Sometimes you get higher premium sound formats on a Blu-ray. You may get Dolby Atmos, you may get DTS-X. Generally now, the studios are reserving those for the 4K comparisons, but every now and again a studio will pop a Dolby Atmos soundtrack on the Blu-ray disc. So now we move on to 4K. Yes, okay, the picture quality is the best it's going to look. You do have the benefit of HDR, which is the color grading. Generally that will be HDR or HDR10 or Dolby Vision, depending on what equipment you have and your television and player can decode. The difference between 4K and Blu-ray largely, I would say, is the HDR. Getting more lifelike colours. There's not a huge leap between Blu-ray quality and 4K quality picture. Yeah, there's an uptick. Yeah, you can notice it on certain scenes. But again, it's very hit and miss depending on the way the film is shot. If it's shot digitally, often Blu-rays will look nearly as good as 4Ks. But when you're talking about film, especially this film, Braveheart, when it came out, this would have been typically shot on film, and as long as you keep the grain intact, it will really bring out the quality of the film from the original negative, and it'll look fantastic. Again, with 4K, you should get the premium format sound, Dolby Atmos, DTS-X, but not always. Sometimes studios will only put a 5.1 mix on. It's all hit and miss, but you're talking a good leap in money for this. So a standard release like this, you'd be setting you back £25, a £10 increase. Now, up until now, we've been getting 4Ks and the Blu-rays in the case as well. So I guess you are still getting both formats in one case. However, more and more now, we're starting to see releases, certainly from the likes of Arrow Video. They're just putting the 4K disc in, so there's no Blu-ray, but the price isn't coming down. Then we take the next leap. So you've got the steelbook. So you're getting the same discs that you would in the standard Amaray edition, but they're giving you a steelbook with very nice artwork, but again an increase of probably £10. So from £25 to £35. So what extra are you getting? Well, in terms of disc content, probably not a lot. Maybe there might be an extra bonus disc in there, but generally it's exactly the same probably as the standard edition on 4K. The only real difference is you're getting a very nice artwork, the steelbook, unique design, but it does have its flaws. You can get scratches, dents, dings, this kind of thing. So it's something to consider if you're sort of dipping your toe into steelbooks. And then obviously we get to the collector's editions, and again the disc content is probably the same. Every now and again you might find the disc art is different to the standard editions or the steelbook editions. Not always. It all depends on the studio and whether you find the disc that is in the collector's edition is a remaster over the previous one. But often you'll find it's exactly the same discs that are in the collector's edition that are in the steelbook release that are in the Amaray release. But again, you're paying even more for these collector's editions, and typically now we're seeing prices go up from sort of 40 plus, even up to £50. So if you take that from a steelbook to a £50 release, it's another £15. Yes, you're getting unique artwork. Yes, you're getting a poster. Yes, you're getting booklets, stickers, tat, as we say. But is it really worth it? So we've gone through all the formats. You told you the different price differences. Can we really justify this? I think it's all down to personal choice. You have to decide whether you're prepared to pay the extra for what you're getting. If you step back and look at it, probably you're not getting a huge amount extra for the extra increase that you're getting. But as retailers do, they try to entice you to buy the best product available. And as we are collectors, we will probably generally go for the collector's editions. But are we getting great value for money? That's the big question, isn't it? Now, for me, my kind of attitude on this now is to wait for price reductions. I do think the prices are going very, very high now, and it's becoming a very expensive hobby. Personally, I think it's best to wait for sales or wait on the second-hand market to get these editions at a reduced price. Okay, you do face the FOMO effect, the fear of missing out, and sometimes these editions, whether they be steelbooks or collector's editions, will get snapped up and sold for a profit on eBay. You have to take that risk as to whether you're going to wait and hope that you'll still be able to get these editions, or whether it's going to be a case of they get sold out and you're having to pay a premium. Now, me personally, I'm trying to keep clear of the fear of missing out. I think a lot of it is up here. I think if you're prepared to wait maybe a year, maybe 18 months, you will definitely be able to pick these things up for cheaper prices. People are always buying and selling things. A lot of this stuff is not selling out now as more and more people move to streaming convenience, or people just can't afford to spend this much money on 4Ks and steelbooks and collector's editions. Many people are just turning around and now thinking, well, actually, the Blu-ray is perfectly fine. It's a great picture. It's great sound. Why do I have to pay 10, 15, 20 pounds more to watch the same film? Yes, okay, with the collector's editions, you're getting the extra bits and pieces. But are we kidding ourselves that, yes, we've got a poster which probably we'll never put up. Yes, we've got postcards that we can sort of get out and have a look at from time to time. There's no right or wrong answer to this. It's all dependent on where you sit on this. If you're happy to pay the premium price for these premium products, then all credit to you. But going forward, for me, I'm certainly starting to look at my spending habits and really kind of considering, is it really worth my investment in a lot of these steelbooks and collector's editions? I'm getting to the stage where I'm kind of just looking, do I really want this film? Did I really enjoy it? Am I really going to revisit this film often? Or is it a film that I'm going to maybe just watch once and then it's just going to sit on the shelf? If it's going to be the latter, I think I need to stop that kind of collecting and just focus on the films that I really enjoy to rewatch. Have the collector's editions that when I buy them, I get excitement from buying them. I'm really waiting and anticipating getting them, looking at them, being able to maybe put them away on the shelf and then get them out from time to time and still get that sense of excitement from it when you revisit it and think, wow, yeah, I got this in my collection. I'm really happy with it. It speaks to me. Again, it's all individual. What one person gets really sort of excited about and thinks, yeah, this is a great film, I love this edition. Another person might be like, well, I can't stand that film. It just does nothing for me. Why did you buy all that stuff? You know, what a waste of money. I would argue it depends on you. Some people would say this is a waste of money, that's a waste of money. Other people would say, no, I actually enjoyed buying this, it's for me. And it's entirely up to the individual. I do think retailers are starting to push the price though on these 4K editions. It's inevitable. The marketplace is shrinking. Yes, it's a collector's market, but there aren't as many collectors out there as the general mass population. People who occasionally watch films, go to the cinema now and again, they just want to put a film on. They're the sort of people that are going to subscribe to the likes of Netflix, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, etc. They're not that fussed about picture quality. They're not that fussed about adverts. But for us collectors, the market is shrinking. The limited numbers are coming down. You know, back in the days of DVD, you would get 50,000 copies or 100,000 copies of a DVD limited edition. Now we're seeing collector's editions, 1, 2, 3,000 copies. Every now and again you'll get one that's a really big number. Certain films, very, very popular, they're going to sell. But on the whole, things are shrinking. And unfortunately, the manufacturers will push this price onto us. But like with everything, there gets a saturation point where people say, no, enough's enough. I can't afford to buy all of these things. And they either stop buying them and then reduce down to a cheaper format, or they won't buy as much. Unfortunately, that's the way things are probably going to go moving forward. We may still see continuing price increases, and unfortunately a lot of people are going to be changing their mindset and thinking, no, I can't afford a lot of this stuff now. Do you know what? I'm going to stick with Blu-ray. The only thing that might happen is manufacturers may then turn around and say, well, no, we're not going to give you Blu-ray or DVD anymore. We're only going to give you 4K editions because it's only the collectors that are buying these editions. So the collector wants the best possible quality disc, the nicest packaging, because that's what they want to collect. So they may force us down the route of just buying expensive discs. Now, again, it's up to you. You make the decision what you do with your money. Nobody's saying you need to buy this, you need to buy that. But at the moment, we do have a choice. So, stick down in the comments. What do you think of this subject? Do you think physical media is becoming a bit of a con? Do you think the price difference between the different formats is justified? Or are you really happy that there's a lot of collector's editions coming out and you're quite happy to continue paying the increased prices? I'll pop a playlist up here for some other chat videos that I've done on the channel. So if you're new here, go and check those out. And if you're a returning viewer and you haven't seen any of these, please click on the playlist and browse and have a look at some of these videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.